So picture this big, burning triangle of wargaming. One of the things that we're trying to do without like dipping into the esoteric is this idea of creating a simulation, this idea of stepping out of the day-to-day responsibilities of family and life and school, work, setting some time together with some friends, rolling some dice, making something happen on the tabletop. Side note, we are going to do our best to win the game, but having fun, creating something unique, in my opinion, is more important, or is most important. And from someone that has enjoyed wargaming for a number of years, has plans to continue a number of years from now, I've won a lot of games. I've lost a lot of games I can't even remember. But I can picture in my mind, I can visualize it, I can see it, those memories with friends, some still around, some not around. It's like a living element on there. So this idea of the triangle, I was trying to think of like an analogy here. We have the rules. That's at one point of the triangle. The rule set needs to be somewhat decent or inspiring or something that really, really interests you. There might be some unique innovations in a wargaming rule set, and while it's not the tightest system out there, it does something kind of cool. It does something kind of unique. The rule set has to push the simulation. So part of having a good experience is a rule set that is solid and a rule set that speaks to you. The top of the triangle is the narrative. I mean, there's a reason we're playing with miniatures and terrain and painted armies. I still enjoy, although not as much, simply because of miniature wargaming, a lot of the really old classic Avalon Hill titles. I loved Web and Starship. This idea that on a hex map you could play a massive, massive game. Side note, all those years I played Axis and Allies with my cousin Eric. And how old was I? I was maybe 10, 11. He was like 18. So no wonder I got destroyed. Conquest of the Empire, we would play week after week after week, and I would just pour all of my resources into catapults on that and just never could pull it off. But those type of games where everything is self-contained, that was an interesting wargaming experience. And now moving forward, pushing that forward, having your miniatures painted, having terrain that frames that narrative, having the visuals, being able to sit there, see the game, have your tactics, step back for a moment and just be like, wow, check out this setup. You know, for me, the biggest thing is the transformation when we have a big game and we take over my dining room table. Push everything off, take everything off, put everything aside. And when you roll out that grass mat or that hex map, if we're doing Battletech, then you put down the terrain, then you put down the miniatures, then you get the music. Something has been transformed. So that's kind of the zenith. That's the top point of the triangle. And then the other base, the missions. The missions, and that's what I want to explore in this podcast. But I felt like setting up the vlog, we needed to have that frame of reference. Missions, the mission is the AI, is the decision tree that interfaces with the terrain, because the terrain is going to drive key points to the mission. And that's the flavor, that's the bite, that's the juice. The mission is the juice of the rule set, of it in action, where we go head-to-head with our miniatures, whatever they're going to be. Admittedly, war being war, tabletop war being tabletop war, a lot of the missions are line up your toys, I line up my toys, and we try and blow each other up. And after a number of turns, let's see who's standing on there. It could be something historical, Chain of Command, World War II, late war. You know, the sides are not equal, the missions are not equal, because we're literally trying to recreate something from history and ask the what if. It could be something like Battletech, where we have battle value in there. We try to keep things about equal. Or it could be something like 40K, where balance is just completely out of there. That aside, challenge yourself to other missions. And what brought on this podcast was I'm looking over, jumping into, starting to really, really enjoy. I wasn't ready for another miniature system. especially around now, dangerous time to be, because I still got some BattleTech stuff I got to work on. Exploring Pacific Rim Extinction. And some of the missions on there, of course, being a miniature game, being a war game, it's going to be apocalypse, head-to-head, last space bug, kaiju, space robot, Jaeger standing. But some of the other missions are really intriguing, and that's what got me pushed into this. Play some missions, even though most of the missions I play are just blow each other up. Try to play some missions that do some unique and different things. And if possible, explore some other wargaming systems out there that you can adapt or you can pull in on the mission. A couple of missions from BattleTech really quick. There are recon missions where your opponent will deploy in the midfield of the table and on their deployment zone. You'll have some damaged mechs, or you'll have some mechs that are not quite as powerful, and you need to literally run, walk, crawl, fly, jump, whatever you got to do to get to the other side of the table on there, kind of a recon breakthrough. There's missions cash and grab, where you have to attack a base, locate some sort of tech, pick it up, you better bring that mech with hands, and then escape. There's missions where you have to recon certain points. You put down objectives over the map, and you have to cross over that hex, just visually scanning it or gathering intel and make it off the board. There's a lot of tactical things to explore. Now, after all these years of playing various games, the missions that I really have enjoyed the most, Mordheim. You can get the PDF somewhere up there. Games Workshop specialist game. It's not supported anymore. I won't say it's public domain, but it's out there in the wild, certainly. And one of the things that I liked about Mordheim, some quick history is, there's Mordheim's the city of the damned. You had this comet, the twin-tailed comet of Sigmar, smash into the city, essentially level it, destroy it. It's all ruins. And the core of the comet was weird stone. Magically infused chaos warp stone, spread all over the city, and it has various magical properties, alchemical properties. Just think of Spice from Dune, right? The spice landed, everybody wants it. So you have all these factions now going into the city, this ruined, destroyed, abandoned city, trying to recover weird stone. You've got undead, you've got your chaos boys, you've got the Skaven, all these different mercenaries, human mercenaries on there, dwarf treasure hunters, and you build your war band. But the missions are unique because they're not just, the focus is not go and beat each other up or kill each other, although, of course, that is a viable tactic. You can't argue at the point of a sword or a spear. But it's about finding the weird stone. So one of the missions that I enjoy is you have buildings in the city, but this could easily be pieces of terrain with a defined boundary. So if you have some woods that have a defined boundary, or maybe a building, in one of those buildings is a piece of weird stone, or the tech, the lost tech, because we're looking to adopt or upgrade this mission. When you have a unit, a model, an element, whatever it's going to be, enter that terrain piece, you roll 2d6. If you get a 12, the artifact, the weird stone, is there in that terrain piece. You can pick it up, and now that model has it. And that model has to make it off the table, essentially kind of like a relic mission. If it gets destroyed, or the element gets destroyed, then the objective falls on there. As you go through, so if you search a building or a terrain piece, you roll 2d6, you don't get a 12, it's not there. The last terrain piece, building, ruins that's still standing, that's still there, that hasn't been searched, automatically has it. So it's interesting because there's this subplot of trying to make this discovery, get this piece of weird stone, artifact, tech, whatever, and get off, yet at the same time we're navigating back and forth and fighting. So I want to push there, and Extinction, Pacific Rim Extinction kind of reignited this. There's a lot of different missions out there. There's a lot of different ways to enjoy and utilize your miniature collection. Let's do this. Let's explore some different things. And as a gaming group, whether it's part of a big club or basement battle reports, naturally the personalities, we all just kind of tend to play the same missions over and over again because we enjoy them, whatever that's going to be. Let's break free a little bit for that. Let's push ahead a little bit for that. And this idea of narrative terrain, rules, and missions, let's really look to exploit that triangle of wargaming.